A Klingon's honor is paramount to his faith. However, the duty of a Starfleet officer cannot be ignored. Worf, however, in 2367 committed the most egregious acts as a member of the Enterprise. He killed Duras, head of the Duras family, in apparent revenge for the death of his beloved Kalar. Tonight on Pros and Cons, we will decide whether this action was justified or merely an emotional reaction. Joining me to make this prestigious decision are two Klingon experts. One might say they are the je ne sais quoi of Klingon authority, the Duras sisters themselves, Rhianna and Ashlyn. Welcome to the Court of Q. Welcome to Pros and Cons. How are you both?
Wonderful to be here.
Are you ready?
We're very excited.
Are you ready for a riveting debate which may reshape the future of Klingon politics and Federation lore as we know it?
Indeed. Absolutely.
Well, I have only one thing to say, and that is...
All present respectfully stand.
Yes, tonight we will be discussing, was Worf justified in killing Duras in the episode you might know as Reunion from Season 4 of TNG, where the events of Duras allegedly slaying Kalar forced Worf's hand in dealing with Duras himself and slaying the head of the Duras family. First off, we shall introduce Rhianna. You shall be defending Duras, son of Jarod. Oh, sorry, no, you were defending Worf. No, I got that the wrong way round. Here we go. Told you I'd get something wrong, didn't I? You are defending Worf. And Ashlyn, you are defending Duras, a son of Jarod. Okay, now, this game is split into 4 rounds. First, we shall have the opening statements, where one of you shall have 2 minutes to deliver a speech defending your subject, your recipient. At any time, the opposite number may shout object, and if the objection is in my satisfaction, then I shall award them a point, and the counter will continue, and the person will carry on their argument until the end of the 2 minutes, in which case you will hear a black alert. The second round is evidence gathering. You each have to prove 2 points of evidence to prove your case, to establish something either physical or metaphysical or spiritual or philosophical to portray your case. And again, points will be awarded depending on whether I'm satisfied with your answer or not. The third point in the case is cross-examination. You will each get 2 questions to answer the opposite in directly relating to your case. And again, you will be scoring points depending if the answer that is proved is satisfactory. If the asker asks a good enough question and it is answered not to my satisfaction, the asker gets the point, and likewise if it is answered satisfactory. Finally, I am making a mouthworm of this, finally, the closing statements. You both will have 4 minutes to prepare a closing statement and deliver it accordingly. And again, objections are all required. We will points for rejections as they go. So, without further ado...
Criminal, you will read the charges to the court.
Rhianna, we will begin with you for defending Worf. Please start now.
People and aliens of the court, I come here today to speak of Lieutenant Worf's honorable and necessary act of killing Duras. Since the Enterprise and Worf's last encounter, Duras has bargained like a sniveling Ferengi, using lies and manipulation to gain the seat of the Council. He has worked with Romulans, a sworn enemy of the Klingons, using subterfuge like any Romulan Patak would justify using. And he tried to have Picard killed and stripped Worf of his good and honorable name. Along with all of these dishonorable actions, he used a coward's method of poisoning Chancellor Kempek and planted a bomb in his fellow warrior to make him take the honorable suicide bombing instead of himself. And the worst act of all, he killed Worf's Parmakai, or mate, Ambassador Kalar, of the Klingon and Federation ambassador, which demands the Klingon right of vengeance. In the words of Worf himself, his heart is not Klingon.
You do still have 50 seconds on the clock.
I went too fast. I was too passionate about my Worf's honor and Kalar's justice.
I'll tell you what, we'll stop it there. We'll stop. I'll be fair, and I'll give you a point for no objections, and also another point for bringing props. Where on the Kalar doll did Duras kill her?
Here. Lots of stabbings.
Fantastic. Okay.
And in the back, probably.
And yeah, absolutely. All over the shop. Okay, Ashlyn defending Duras, please. You may start.
I have been given the honorable task of defending my brother, Duras, who was murdered in cold blood. Worf was not justified in killing Duras, and without using emotion to try to manipulate the court as my opposer has done, I will use cold hard facts. Worf has demonstrated, since his accommodation, that is a stain upon his honor, and he has been walking around, moping around, because he feels it in his very soul, and he is blaming the son of Duras for his torture. I, in this hearing, will convince you that his emotional behavior led to a breakdown in Federation law, the obstruction of a proper trial for Duras and the Duras family, and he single-handedly ended the investigation of a conspiracy with the Romulans and helped once more to hide the truth about what really happened at Khitomer. Worf's rash actions destroyed what could have happened in the High Council, and for that, he was not justified to murder this man.
You also have 50 seconds. That is exact same timing for both sides. That is uncanny. I will give you a couple of points for that excellent and frankly rather well eloquated argument. I'll be looking forward to seeing how you can prove this through the next trials. Let's move on to round 2, evidence gathering, please. Same again, Rhianna, your first piece of evidence to bring towards the court.
My first piece of evidence is, of course, Ambassador Kalar herself, who was murdered by Duras, and we know this because she uttered his name right before her death in Worf's arms.
Objection.
Yep. What is the objection?
She said no. She did not say Duras's name. He said Galron, and she said no.
Okay.
I'll award you a point for that.
Who were the two vying for Chancellor? Galron and Duras. Process of elimination. Duras. Also, he was last seen going into a ambassador's chambers. She is not a Klingon warrior. She was not holding a weapon. And this is also the fact that within the boundaries and traditions of Klingon law, it is Worf's right to act revenge on Duras because he has murdered his Parmakai, his mate, Kalar. And we must remember that family is the most important thing to Klingons. Honor and family go hand in hand. And we know that Worf is uplifting and helping to enact revenge on a family member. He has a son with Kalar, the ambassador. Once again, I shall say that she was murdered behind closed doors in cold blood, not as an act of battle or a great warrior's deed, but as a traitorous act.
I will object.
Please do.
That Worf did not acknowledge his son. It did not acknowledge Alexander to be his son until all of the events were unfolded. And so I do not think he acted to kill, wrong. He's not acknowledging him.
His son exists, does he not? His son exists. Therefore, he is his son.
But he did not
acknowledge him.
And Kalar knows this. He did not acknowledge him.
Divided argument. I think she'll leave it at that one for now. But please, I will give you a point for Rhianna for a good, compelling piece of evidence. Ashlyn, anything more to say in rebuttal towards that piece of evidence? Nothing more. In which case, Ashlyn, you can go forth and present your first piece of evidence.
My first piece of evidence is Worf's position in Starfleet. His service record is exemplary. He was the first Klingon to ever join. He worked tirelessly, and he eventually landed a spot as an ensign aboard the USS Hawk at age 17. Even among humans, that's extremely impressive. He joined the Enterprise D as a lieutenant junior grade, and after Tasha Yar's death was promoted to chief tactical officer and security chief as a full grade lieutenant. Mind you, this is the Galaxy-class starship, the flagship of the Enterprise, where only the best can serve, and are looked upon as an example for the rest of the Federation. Though the right of succession, as you mentioned, is an honored Klingon ceremony, Kimbeck's decision to involve Picard as arbiter naturally invites Starfleet into the proceedings. Picard can do nothing to help that he is a Starfleet captain, and although he does his best to keep them separated, it's impossible to ignore Starfleet's involvement, especially when this investigation of the Romulan conspirators begin. Therefore, Worf, as a highly regarded Starfleet officer, should understand that his actions in this proceedings will directly reflect Starfleet, no matter what is allowed or disallowed in Klingon law. By killing Duras, Worf broke General Order Number 2. Killing intelligent life is prohibited. If Klingons involved in this incident had wanted to dispute Duras's murder, given the tension of the situation, it could have started an all-out war with the Klingons. Instant murder, done for revenge, executed without proof or a fair trial, goes against everything that Starfleet is about and is completely unjustified.
Very interesting. So Worf's own record put to the task of his what his expectations should be as a Starfleet officer would be your piece of evidence submission.
Yes,
Rhianna,
yes.
please, would you like a rebuttal on that point? Oh, and I will give you a point, Ashlyn. I'd already given you an extra point earlier, so you can carry that point forward. So, Rhianna, any rebuttal to that?
My only rebuttal is the fact that you said all-out war would have started. I think that all-out war would have started had Worf not acted and had Duras taken the stand as Chancellor, because we understand that his involvement in the bombing and poisoning of Kimbeck.
I do not dispute his involvement in these incidents, but I do think that killing him was not the correct way to deal with the outcome of these actions.
The not correct Federation way. Were they on a Federation ship? They were on a Klingon ship. In front of... He drew his weapon, Duras did, after
But
learning.
she was killed on a Federation ship.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. This is a bit of almost a looser debate, so I think we'll leave the points as they stand. Okay, Rhianna, please present your second piece of evidence.
Second piece of evidence comes to the character of Duras as a Klingon, and we have to understand that he is a traitor. His father was a traitor before him at Kittimer. These facts were all covered up in order for Worf to honorably make sure that Duras did not take counsel when the last time the Enterprise was at the Klingon High Command. Now, when he is aboard and Duras is looking to become Chancellor against Gowron, we already know that his father has collaborated with Romulans at Kittimer, which already makes him a coward, because then we learn that a bomb was planted in one of his officers' arms, taking the honorable suicide onto another person, not choosing that himself because he desires power, and he desires that Chancellor position so highly that he will collaborate with Romulans, a sworn enemy of the Klingon Empire, and use a Romulan bomb in order to do that whole bombing bullshit. And then he also, the evidence is clearer and clearer that Chancellor Kimbeck was slowly poisoned, which is a cowardly way of killing someone. Klingons would never, an honorable, true Klingon would never poison someone, slow poison at that. And a Klingon who kills without showing his face has no honor. And so Worf is doing a great deed by killing Duras, because the ramifications of Duras becoming Chancellor are terrible. He could have disrupted the entire system. We know this. Your beloved Picard knows this. Everyone understands that Duras is the wrong choice, and Worf took actions into his own hands through the right of vengeance.
Any rebuttal?
I will just remind Q and the court at present that what is on trial is not what Duras has done or who he has collaborated with. It is whether Worf was justified in killing him, and I would not like you to be led astray by these emotional ramblings of my co-host here.
It is very nice of you to think of my composure here. I will award you a point for that composure, and I believe, yes, you are essentially right in the fact that Duras is not essentially the one on trial here. It is Worf that is on trial for his killing, and I liked the interplay between whether Worf is a good Starfleet officer versus whether Duras is a good leader of the Chancellor. So those are both absolutely fantastic arguments. I would like to ask, though, in your opinions, whether Worf had done the deed or not. Do you think the outcome of the Klingon Empire should be left to the decisions of Starfleet, anyone in Starfleet, not just Worf?
There's much to be said about that. I think that Worf should not have made the decisions for the Empire, but neither should Picard. Chancellor Kempek's decision was based off of past experiences from Picard and knowing that he's a good diplomat. However, Klingons have a very different set of rules than the Federation, and by acting along those rules, the Federation often muddles things and uses their morality, such as not killing, even if it's an honorable killing, and that can really muddle the way that the Klingons run the Empire.
I tend to think that this is a very unique situation because Kempek has tasked Picard to make his decision. And so I think if Worf had not killed Duras, Picard still would have chosen Gowron to lead the High Council. I think the evidence was there that Duras had perhaps done some shady things. Overall, this also, we have to remember that Kempek, he's the leader that's had the position of president of the High Council for the longest in Klingon history. So that gives you some insight into how turbulent things have been, and Kempek does not want things to return that way. And so I think in this situation, it is okay to allow Picard to make this decision, but going forward, they should write some charter or make some rule that maybe do not include the Federation.
Some sort of accord, perhaps.
Perhaps. Yes. Something about Kittimer.
Yes, I believe that should be included. Okay. Ashlyn, please, your final piece of evidence.
Yes. Well, my second piece of evidence involves Worf's rash emotional behavior, and I want to walk you through some things that we see in this episode. Worf's resentment had been growing towards Duras the entire time. It has been building for months, years. Worf is already plagued by his dishonor, and when Worf first appeared on the bridge of the Enterprise, the Duras is on the view screen, and he rightly says to Worf that this Patak has no place in these matters. From this interaction, we see Worf's anger, and he adds Duras' comment to the growing pile of reasons to hate him, despite the fact that almost any Klingon who knows of Worf's dishonor would make the same comment and would not like him to be a part of these proceedings. Worf takes it personally. And most of the reasons...
Oh, yeah, go on.
Worf takes it... Sure, he takes it personally because Duras lied from the start, and Worf was protecting the entire council from Duras' lie, and therefore he is lying like a Romulan. He's perpetuating the fact that Worf actually had no dishonor on him. He took the dishonor in the most honorable way possible to save the rest of the Klingons.
Honorable dishonor will make points happen, definitely. Have a point for that. Good objection. Please carry on.
Well, I would like to remind the court that throughout this episode... most of the reasons that Worf is bitter towards Duras are because he hates Duras' father. But he has never interacted with the son of Duras before, the man who is running to lead the High Council. As Picard points out rightly in this episode, the treason is the crime of the father. Further, when Worf learns that Kempek's death was from poison, he remarks, as you said, that poison is not the weapon of a Klingon, and says that his heart is not Klingon. But despite what Rhianna might think, Worf's mere speculation about the integrity of Duras does not make him automatically guilty. But to Worf, he views it as evidence, as does Rhianna. Worf was dealing with the emotions at seeing Kalar again, learning that he had a son, deeply feeling this hatred towards Duras throughout this episode. And I would like to remind the court that the characters throughout the whole episode have been asking questions like, who poisoned Kimpek, Gowron or Duras? Who will be chosen as leader, Gowron or Duras? Who set off the bomb, Gowron or Duras? It precludes that the answer could be someone else. It could have been the Romulans. It could have been someone working for someone else. So when Worf discovers that Kalar has been killed, Worf asks Kalar, Gowron? And she replies, no. The implication is that it was Duras, but it is not explicitly said that it was Duras. Worf grabs his batleth, heads over to Duras' ship with no evidence of who the actual murderer was. And especially because we learned previously that Romulans were involved, he assumes far too quickly that it was Duras. The murderer could have been done in Duras' name, but not committed by the man himself, and he could have been wrongfully killed. Had Worf kept his emotions under check and thought with a more level head, he might have been able to use these pieces of evidence and his instincts to put up a solid case against Duras, taking down his family name, possibly even regaining his honor by the end of this episode. But by murdering Duras, he destroyed any chance of the truth coming out about the conspiracy within the High Council. But the Romulans cooperating were never discovered and allowed a clean getaway, all because Worf murdered Duras.
Well, let's face it, if Duras hadn't been killed, there would probably be no Duras Sisters in power, so that may have not, helped you.
I will say I am biased by my brothers.
No, I will give you a point for that well-eloquated argument. Fantastic work. Pop quiz. Now, do you think that Duras would have instigated war with the Federation or cut off ties? Do both of you, obviously from the positions you are in, do you think, this is not a biased question either way, do you think that would have occurred? Do you think Duras would have been a bad influence for the health of the Federation in the long term, considering his implication with the Romulans?
Absolutely. He has shown in the past how he uses subterfuge, how he uses lies, how he is acting more Romulan than Klingon. He would definitely want to incite war. He has more war in his veins than most Klingons, and not in the way that is good for Klingons. We want Klingons to still be a part of the Federation. It has been beneficial for them for decades, and I think he would squander all of that hard work, absolutely.
I tend to agree with Rhianna, maybe not for the same reasons. I think Duras is looking to actually strengthen the Klingon Empire, and the way that he thinks he can do it is by becoming allies with the Romulans and overtaking the Federation. So he believes that peace with the Romulans or a tentative alliance will allow him greater glory to the Empire in the long run.
What is glorious about going behind people's backs? What is glorious about not facing your opponents in battle?
But once he's the leader of the High Command, he won't go behind anyone's backs.
Oh, so you just gotta act Romulan for a little bit. Okay, I see.
Rhianna, if you want a quick catch up on points, can you reenact the killing of Duras with your action figures, please?
I'm going to have Dathan be Duras in this scene. Beep boop beep beep. I'm looking up evidence that will definitely convict Duras of this crime. Hey, what are you doing here? Hey, I'm looking up evidence on you, bitch. Who was it? Gowron? No. Ah!
Perfect. Excellent. Have a point. Love it. Excellent work. I especially love the transcript of the occasion there. I believe it wasn't quite word for word, but it'll go for now. Let's go on to our third round for this event, and this will be the cross-examination, where one of you will be able to interrogate the other on a singular question. Ashlyn, please ask Rhianna a question on your subject, please.
Sure. Rhianna, I'm wondering, how do you justify Worf's out-of-control emotions when he decided to murder Duras?
Is Worf a Vulcan? Is he supposed to have no emotions? Klingons are, at their core, a fundamentally emotional species who react to things when it happens. They have blood of battle in their veins. They are ready to fight for their cause and die for their cause in an instant. And yes, Worf doesn't think his thoughts through all the time, his actions through. What Klingon does, what have we seen a lot of Vulcan-like Klingons who are, let me logically consider the facts here. No. Klingons are inherently emotional. And so why are you trying to attribute Vulcan-like or even human-like attributes to a Klingon who is devoting their very vengeance onto Duras? They're devoting themselves to Kalar in her death. Why are you trying to make him Vulcan?
Can I respond?
You absolutely can.
I think you are being very close-minded to the capability of Klingons, because we have seen many characters, many Klingons, that can stop and think before they commit a bloodthirsty or emotional act. And so I think it is Worf specifically that cannot control his emotions and will dive headfirst into enacting revenge when it might not call for it.
So now he's bloodthirsty? I thought he was honorable for taking vengeance for his lover, for his Parmakai.
Can't simmer down.
Being a murderer is bloodthirsty.
That's very human of you, I will say.
We all have our limitations.
Interesting points on both sides. I think that's a point each there. I can't quite decide who's the victor in that one. You both had a point. We shouldn't humanize what is a culture that is alien to us. However, Worf was a Starfleet officer. Maybe he should have known better. Okay, Rhianna, please, your question for Ashlyn.
Is it honorable to kill an ambassador, not a warrior, when she is not in battle?
A wonderful question. I believe that when someone is challenging you to your right to be on the high command, the step she is taking might not be with a bat'leth, but the question she's asking is an act of war, because she is trying to figure out files that are encrypted, and she is going where she doesn't belong, which is against the Empire, which makes her a traitor.
She's an ambassador, first of all. Mm-hmm. She does have some access to some of these files, and she is trying to uncover lies from Duras. Lies that he has used, like I've said, like a Romulan, to hide his true meaning and his true feelings about the Empire. If he wanted to challenge someone, challenge Gowron. Why challenge a defenseless ambassador in her own quarters away from prying eyes?
Warriors come in all shapes and sizes. As you said yourself, Duras is not a traditional warrior, and so he sees Kalar as a threat. Despite her appearance, she is a warrior to him, and she must be taken down.
Glorious battle, for sure, for him. Absolutely.
I think that is definitely a point in Rhianna's favour there. I'm really included. Ashlyn, please, your question for Rhianna. Final question for Rhianna.
Final question. I wonder, what do you think would have happened if Worf had not killed Duras? Would the Klingon High Council have allowed a trial? Would the Federation have allowed a trial of Duras to understand the conspiracy going on here?
The Federation has only, Picard is the only advocate of the Federation here. And I think him alone could not have ordered a trial. He is not in the right. He's the arbiter. He is not in the right to run these Klingon trials just because he's one Federation member that Kimpek trusted. I think that if Worf had not killed Duras, had he gone unchecked by his actions, he would have either gone on to kill Gowron and take the seat, or perhaps there would have been a Klingon trial, but it seems unlikely that the Federation would be allowed to be involved in that.
Despite the fact that Picard is arbiter, and he is completely in control of choosing who is the next High Council member. If he can drag out the right of arbitration by using this ancient technique, could he not still drag it out further by allowing this justice to take place?
It's not in his right. He is only choosing the next chancellor. He's not choosing who is guilty or not guilty of this random crime that happened to happen during this. He is only choosing the successor. That is his only role.
Excellent points on both sides on this occasion. Ooh, I think we're going to call it a tie on that one. I shall award you neither points, but however, excellent debating. Rhianna, final question for Ashlyn.
Isn't it Worf's right to claim the right of vengeance against when his beloved was killed? We understand, yes, we've heard your points about, we don't know for sure if it was Duras. We are not positive. But, however, when Worf challenged Duras pulled out his bat'leth, preparing for battle. Is that not his right, then, to enact the right of vengeance onto Duras?
Show me the scene where they took the oath together, where Kalar and Worf were joined. Show me the scene that describes their relationship, raising their son together. Worf can love someone, and he could kill in revenge, but is Kalar really his Parmakai? Has he really shown her devotion over the past 3 years?
It is the act of Alexander existing that shows that they have had a connection. And yes, it was brief, but he is, as you've said many times, a Starfleet officer. He has been traveling around the galaxy, and he still has a son as a result of their love.
A child does not mean that they had love between them. A child is the result of a physical act.
But I'd like you to watch that scene where they do the physical act. I think that was pretty loving.
If you have that scene, we will not be showing that on evidence.
Not safe for work.
Getting off the rails.
Yes, have you got the action figures? You could do it with that. No, let's not. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, any further responses to this subject? I definitely swayed more on Rhianna's side on this one, so I am going to award you the point there, which brings us very nicely to closing arguments, where the two of you shall have your turns to have about 4 minutes, whether that will be too little or too late, but I do want to hear some objections. I want to hear a bit of interplay with this, please. So, Ashlyn, you should be going first. Your 4 minutes begin now.
Murder, as an act of revenge, goes against everything Starfleet stands for. A mere stain on Worf's record is no punishment for such a brutal crime that he has committed. He could have started a war if things had gone another way, but because his emotions and bias towards the House of Duras guided him to hate a man he didn't even know. Worf placed the High Command into further stasis regarding the conspiracy at Khitomer, having murdered the only man who could have provided that evidence at trial. Therefore, the Klingon High Command cannot completely execute their jobs as they need to without knowing the truth.
Objection, please.
What would Duras have ever told the truth about Khitomer? Would anything have come to light had Duras survived? Or would he just continue to lie?
There was evidence that he was working with the Romulans, that he had done some very shady things. He did bring the bomb to the meeting, and
the evidence is still there, even when he's dead.
The evidence, yes, but there could have been actual proof, and they could have had a conversation with the High Council and been on the same page about that, and he could have gone into dishonor, taken Worf's place.
Okay, Ashlyn, I think well defended on that point. Have a point, and please continue.
As is the case for most Klingons, the loss of honor is almost as bad as death. And if Worf had shown mercy, Duras' life would have been much worse than before. Death for Duras was the easy way out. Worf is not justified in murdering Duras. No matter Klingon law, he should have kept him alive to await his justice, possibly allowing both Klingons and the Federation to discover the Romulan plot, destroying it before it even unfolds.
Conclusion? Excellent. Okay, well done. Very well eloquated. I'll give you a point for that. You are now currently sitting on 9 points to 8. Rhianna, it is now time for your closing arguments. Let me reset my counter. Beginning now.
Is a Klingon. What do Klingons do in order to enact honor upon a member who has betrayed or killed a family member? They use the right of vengeance in order to kill the Klingon who has wronged or murdered their Parmakai, their mate. as Worf had clearly stated when he walked into the chamber of Duras, saying, "You have killed her." Even the Klingons surrounding the area did a little gasp, because they knew he was within his rights to kill or to challenge Duras. And you say that Duras' shame would have been greater, but he was easily killed by Worf. Easily. And yes, maybe he died in battle this time, but we have learned that Duras is the father. Duras' father is a traitor, and he has followed in his treacherous footsteps. He has been working with Romulans for longer than we likely know. We have seen moments of Duras' betrayal. We know about the bomb that was planted, that he chose the coward's way of assassination for Kempek. And we understand that by killing Kalar, he was covering up his other misdeeds, therefore furthering his cycle of lies and deceit. When you're trying to cover up instead of facing someone head on, he killed her in her quarters. She had no weapon on her. He did not, as we see, she was stabbed many times. And as Kalar has says, a son betrays his people to the Romulans just as his father did. We have seen this, and we know that if Worf had not killed Duras, this cycle of lies and deceit would have continued on, and perhaps he would have killed Gowron.
Objection.
Please.
Leading the witness. There is no proof that this would continue on and on. We have no way of knowing exactly how it would have gone later for the rest of the family.
Okay.
I'll give you a point for that. That is, carry on, please.
Yes, but we do know who Duras is. He has shown his true colors again and again. First of all, when he tried to kill Picard, your beloved Picard, and he continues to continue these lies and deceit. And so I think that Duras, absolutely, Worf had the right to kill Duras because of this right of vengeance, because of the death of Kalar, and because Klingons fundamentally are always on the side of honor and on the side of justice. And that might not be your Starfleet rule, but justice was taken where it was needed. And therefore, Worf is absolutely within his right to have killed Duras.
Interesting. Okay, no, thank you for concluding your argument. 1 point for you. We are currently standing at 10 points for Ashlyn, 9 points for Rhianna. Here's a nice little fun pop quiz for you. I would like you to describe your entire argument within 10 words, please. A little bit of thinking for you there that I've just sprung on you. Who would like to go first? I shan't pick sides. I'll let you think.
I'll go.
Go on.
Worf's emotions get in the way. Duras should have lived.
Like it. Excellent. Have a point. Rhianna?
Revenge is a dish best served by Worf onto Duras.
Oh, very good. I do like it. Well done. Falling under pressure. However, the final scores, we are at the end. And who is the more victorious sister in this battle of the Duras as well? Congratulations, Ashlyn. You have won the argument with 11 points to 10. A close one. So was Worf justified in killing Duras? No, he absolutely wasn't. We have decided that here. Very well done.
Honor! I demand honor!
That still works, apparently. So one last thing to say, and that is...
Get to your feet, criminals!
Rhianna, you are ejected from the court, and for everybody else...
This honorable court is adjourned.
We will see you back on Pros and Cons very soon. Ta-ra! And... Oh, hang on. No, I've broken my LCARs. It's all gone wrong. There we go. Hello. Post-argument... How did we find that? Yes. So now we're not arguing sides. What are your actual thoughts on this?
I mean, it was very hard to defend.
You did great. You did absolutely
Yeah, you got there,
wonderful.
Definitely.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a struggle. I mean, whenever I watch this episode, I'm like, yeah, Worf, murder him. So
Get that guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Rhianna did a great job.
Thank you.
Honestly, you both were
Yeah.
absolutely astounding. Like, some really good cohesive arguments for both sides. And considering this is not an easiest topic, especially for the Duras side of things, but I'm kind, you know, if because I have to sit there and kind of like, I'm like, I want to project my opinion, but I can't. So I kind of lean on the idea that Worf wasn't justified. I kind of think that he should have, like you expressed in an argument, like he should have come out and said, like, I think this has happened. He's killed her. Shadish, Picard, Daddy, please do something. The bad man's killed my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
low-key agree, honestly. I think that, like, I'm so, like, of such a rules and morality girl that, like, I really think that Worf, like, definitely was impulsive and, like, absolutely, I'm glad that Duras is dead. It, like, worked out great, you know, kind of for everyone except Worf.
I mean, it did in the end.
I was
Worf-
really shocked.
Worf did turn out okay. He got just a little smack on the wrists and went on to
was
then
shocked
kill
by that.
Garon in the end of it. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because we see different styles of like dealing with that because Picard just gives him a slap on the wrist, but Sisko when Worf is like ready to kill his brother for the whole like not on my station, you're a Starfleet officer, like you should literally like absolutely like get out of Starfleet if you're going to be doing this type of thing. And he was way more like solid on that, and so it's really interesting to see how the different captains sort of dealt with the Worfishness of like Klingon tradition and stuff.
You're feeling a bit Worfish today.
Yeah.
I feel like Worf is always struggling with this line, though. Like, it's time after time, like, when he's, like, asking for, like, the suicide when he hurts his legs. Like, he always, like, wants to do things the Klingon way, and then his captains or his commanding officers are like, this is not how this works. And I mostly, overall, I think that I can't believe, I know story-wise, they couldn't resolve, like, Worf getting his honor back in this episode because their 45 minutes is up. But I was really surprised. I haven't seen this episode in, like, a couple months or whatever. And, like, if Worf hadn't killed him, they might have just done all of that right then. Like, okay, you're Duras. You've been found guilty of all this stuff. Like, you're not going to be the leader of the High Command. And let's just unravel this right now. Like, everything that happened at Kittimer with your father, Worf took on, you know, just, I feel like that could have been resolved in, like, a neat little bow if Worf had not killed him, so.
Well, and I definitely think about Kalar. Like, she would have not wanted that, you know?
No.
Like, absolutely not. And she never leaned on Klingon traditions the way he did. And so it is kind of sad to think that, like, instead of probably doing what she would have wanted, like holding a court or trial or something, like, he just like murdered and then left Alexander to go live with his parents, you know, exactly against kind of her wishes. Like, she put their hands together and he was like, no, like, go live with my grandparents, these elderly people.
I'm not old enough for this kind of responsibility.
Yeah, like, what? Yeah, Worf is an interesting Klingon for sure. Yeah,
he's the very typical exception that proves the rule. He is sort of the cultural touchstone that isn't like Guinan says, like, I've seen Klingons have big belly laughs. Like, you are
Totally.
you are the tech, you know, you read the textbook Klingon, but you are not the be all and end all.
It's a Klingon. A Klingon.
Thank you, Cranky. The one thing I always think, like, if Duras hadn't been killed, how would have the events of not unification, the other one was Sealar, redemption, the events of redemption would have come about, because you would have had potentially, you know, probably still Garon as head of the High Council, because no way was Picard as Shadich going to choose Duras, but you would have had another element with, you know, obviously the Duras sisters coming in and allying with, you know, saying, Toral, he is the real son. I'm like, no.
no, he's just a sniveling little kid. Yeah.
Have you
How
disowned
dare
Toral?
you say that to our brother, Rhianna?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Klingons can disown their children. It's fine. Worf does it all the time. He's the
it's
textbook
fine.
Klingon.
Yeah.
He can go live with his grandparents or something.
Yes, in Klingon Minsk.
Yes.
I'm going to send you to the deepest, darkest Russia, my boy. You will learn lots. You won't have any problems at all. No emotional issues for the future. Absolutely not.
No, not at all. Worf's a great parent. What are we talking about?
Yeah, fine.
So I wonder, what do you think, like, would have been different for redemption? Because Worf would have still been dishonoured at that point. You know, Garon maybe not have been keen to absolve him, considering his if Duras is still there, you know, fighting the Civil War. Would have the Romulans had a bit more of an edge?
I think they definitely would have worked directly with Duras, probably.
Well, I think if they had, like, figured out everything that happened at Kittimer and Worf had gotten his honor back much sooner, I think that would have changed things, because then maybe, like, the plot with the Romulans wouldn't have advanced as much as it did. Maybe the Duras sisters would have been less bold in their actions to go, like, start recruiting. I don't know. And then, because then, like, Duras becomes a martyr for them. Like, that's something that's really, you know, like, oh, my brother was killed, we have to get revenge, you know.
True.
So I don't know. I think
a cycle of revenge here, y'all. Yeah.
Never works out, does
what
it?
is Star Trek trying to say? Yeah.
They did do it a lot before everyone else with a lot of subjects, didn't they? There's a lot of definitely social issues, and that is, you shouldn't swing your batleth before you've had a chat with your commanding officer. That could be a euphemism for something, I'm sure. I'm sure.
We're just taking it around.
Just have a chat, have a sit and think about it. Go, Worf, go have a cold shower before you do this action. That'll be fine. Duras isn't going anywhere. That's fine. They probably still had about 6 days of deliberations, but like you said in your argument, he had such a blood rage, like he had to act on it, and that's some, like you say, you can't turn him into a Vulcan. He's not a human. He is a Klingon. And that is what one thing that goes through my head is like, well, that's Worf's definition of what he thinks the Klingon way is.
True.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily what other Klingons would do. So it's.
I mean, some Klingons like party together before they go into battle against each other.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of the vibe sometimes. So
there's a very kind of Civil War vibe there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like so much Deep Space Nine. Yeah. So it's so interesting. Yeah. I love this debate, though. It's really fun to like look at such a specific moment, you know, because there's so many like factors that play into it. It's just wild. Yeah.
I just can't believe Worf really got away with murder. Like he really
did, didn't he? Yeah.
Totally did.
He's fine. He can be serving aboard the Enterprise.
You just say a certain right, and like you're good to go. Yeah.
But he's been set up as the ultimate kingmaker, like, because him being an outsider, he is almost like the intrigue to anyone. And considering what happened, you know, his Duras pretty much set Worf up to become the political figure that he is because of what he did to Moog, and Worf becoming exiled, well, essentially exiled, not really, but he never went back, and kind of setting up the chain of motions for where Worf would be kingmaker for, you know, putting Gowron in command and then putting Martok in command of the High Council and further going forward, but never wanting the power himself. He just like, no, I want to be a Klingon. I don't want to. If I'm not a political person, like bullshit, Worf.
Yeah, right.
He literally left the Enterprise to go like further Gowron's cause and like team up with Kern, and
that was so
come
cool.
on.
Yeah,
Worf is like, so
come
cool.
on, Worf.
Oh, we should get stars back for this. He's a big Worf guy. Do you think Worf, like when he came back to the Enterprise, Batleth hung over his bags like, how many kills do you get today? He's like, but just 20 today. It's just it's paltry. Do you think he got like a bit of sort of sort of like a regression when he's back on the Enterprise, like tapping the button, just going, I could have killed 3 people today. I'm like, I might still get away with it now.
Follow morality, like,
he's like, just shake off the intrusive thoughts. Like,
That's why when they promoted him, they had to dunk him in the water first, just in case he got any bad ideas.
Please don't kill us.
Cold murder shower.
No, literally, and I love to like seeing Gowron for. Like in this episode especially, he's just like Duras.
Yeah.
Like there's something so personal about a Gowron Duras. Like,
oh yeah.
I love Gowron the moment I saw him, those eyes, and I've seen him. What's the actor's name?
Robert O'Reilly.
Oh yeah.
Robert O'Reilly. I've seen him at cons a ton, and he's just like such
so
a cool person. Yeah.
He's like, Duras.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Well, the one's like, bring honor to your house. I think my favourite Gowron moment is the House of Quark episode where he's just like, Quark confuses him with spreadsheets and he's just sitting there like looking going, what is this? I don't understand.
Such a good one. Oh my god.
I think like the whole Klingon mythos has been really kind of, it doesn't make sense how these guys got into space, but it is quite a cool thing to observe. It's like they are presented as a very sort of mono-focused culture that only like killing and blood wine and honor, but they do have a lot of nuance, as kind of like is portrayed through Worf a little bit. You sort of see more of the nuance come out in other Klingons as well. So we had like a big Klingon like session sort of a few months back, like, and had like we did a Klingon Star Trek Adventure series, and we've been playing Klingon Honor Guard and things like that, and it's just like I love it. I don't know why, but just anything to do with Klingons is just a really cool cool, fun thing. I don't know why.
Yeah,
that's
literally,
something...
yeah, that's Ashlyn for sure. Like, every time a Klingon episode came on, she's like, wow.
That's something that, like, I'm so thankful for TNG for pursuing, because out of all of the, like, alien races that were brought up in TOS, like, to expand upon the Klingons and make them our, like, a really complicated society, and you get to see, like, oh, they're not just the enemies anymore. There's, like, someone serving aboard the ship. Like, just adding that nuance to them is just, chef's kiss. I'm so happy that about all these Klingon episodes, yeah.
Yeah, and I love too, like, I was in this religion class in college, and we were learning about, like, honor shame culture and stuff, and the whole time I'm just like, oh my god, this is just Klingon culture. Like, this is truly where it, like, sort of the genesis of that idea. And then I took a stoicism class, and my professor was like, this is essentially the Vulcans from Star Trek, and I'm like, yeah. I just love it how they take bits
Did you go,
from
yeah, that's really cool, and they went, no, calm down, stoic. Like,
yeah, no, I was like, calm down. They said Spock, like, oh my god, calm down. Like, I got my Spock mug. I just, So it's so cool. I love the writers. They do such a good job with the Klingon storylines, for sure.
It's really interesting to see where they take, because obviously we've got Strange New Worlds coming back, and there's a Klingon section in there that we've seen from the trailers with Spock, and they look very classic blood wine swilling Klingons. I'm kind of excited to see what transpires from that, definitely.
I mean, there's kind of a gap in their history where, you know, they're fighting the Tribbles and there was some genetic things going on. Like, yes, I would love to hear just a little bit about that.
We do not discuss it.
No, that was the genetic. That was the genetic alterations, which they did it. They did talk about it.
Yeah, they did talk about it. Yeah.
You were wrong, Worf. Again. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for joining me on this occasion. It's been great to have you, and sort of it's fulfilled a little dream of as soon as I started the pros and cons thing of like, I've got to get the Duras sisters on for this. So thank you very much for coming and doing that. I'd love to have you back on at some point. Maybe we'll talk about that, and we'll do some other stuff as well. But for people who haven't heard of you or don't know of you, where can they find you, and what do you do?
So you can find us pretty much any social media platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok. We also have a Patreon that you can subscribe to for certain dollar tiers per month. We have a lot of really cool stuff on there, a lot of goodies, exclusive episodes. We do like fun quiz ones, and you're actually giving me a lot of inspiration. So awesome. I'm really thinking about, you know, new fun things we can do for our Patreon as well. Cool. And Ashlyn, you want to talk about what we do a little bit?
I would love to, yeah. Rhianna and I just love talking about Star Trek together, and our podcast is basically Star Trek through different themes. So we started off, our first series ever was about pilot episodes. We watched every pilot from TOS all the way to Strange New Worlds, and we talked about every pilot. We've done family, time travel, love and affection, feminism, holodeck episodes, pretty much a lot. And so right now we're kind of going back and finishing up some family episodes because Picard is done now, so we can talk about family and Picard, talking about family and Prodigy, and then we will be starting our new series, which is Engineers. So we're going to be talking about, of course, like Scotty and TOS and LaForge and every engineer that is featured in Star Trek. So we're very, very excited about that, and that's going to take a couple months to get through all of our engineers.
Even Trip Tucker the Third.
Trip Tucker.
Can't wait to get to Trip's episode. Yeah.
No, it's going to be good fun. No, thank you very much for joining me. Absolute pleasure. Going to be checking out all your podcasts and stuff as it's coming out, but we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you everyone for coming and watching. Next week we will be talking, well, on Wednesday coming up, we will be talking about Strange New World. So we'll be having our pre-Strange New World season 2 the night before. I think we were joking pre-stream saying the night before. Hey, thank you, Cranky. Oh, you guys don't know the mariachi. You have to dance when this is played.
Oh, sure.
Yes, it will be we were joking before stream and we were saying, the night before Strange New Worlds. That's almost like a Christmas caroling, Dickensian Christmas Carol where the ghost of Anson Mount visits you and tells you all the spoilers. But no, thank you very much for joining everyone, and thank you for watching. We will see you later. Live long and prosper, and ta-ra.
Live long and prosper. Thank you.
It's all set.
What's all set?
I got Hooker lined up with a dude who's gonna give him the deal of a lifetime in a new Porsche.
A Porsche?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe you should wait. You might get a better deal through the state.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did some story on a guy who's selling stolen Porsches off a lot on Main. Real sleazy character.
What's his name?
Delvin, Kelvin,
Melvin?